Welcome to our panel discussion on AI in content creation, balancing automation with authenticity. Remember, the AI Writing Summit is brought to you by Troy Harris. Troy Harris is a leading expert in AI and blockchain technology, known most recently as the guy who uses a unique AI trading bot that extracts passive gains from the market almost daily. Today's panels are being brought to you by Fictionary, the game changing structural editing software that will help you evaluate your story in a whole new way. Today, we're going to be covering the evolving landscape of content creation where artificial intelligence plays an increasingly prominent role. Our diverse panel of content creators, marketers, and AI experts will share their firsthand experiences and insights into harnessing AI tools to enhance productivity, effectiveness, while preserving the authenticity of their content. So we'll introduce our panelists and get started here in just a second. But first, I wanted to remind you guys about the bundle of premium AI writing tools and resources that we put together for you to help you write better and easier with AI. It's available for a very limited time during the summit here, so don't hesitate to grab this thing while you can. Think of it as your ultimate AI writing resource. It includes exclusive access to things like step by step AI blueprints, time saving prompts, courses, and toolkits for writers, exclusive AI writing software discounts, an AI writer's knowledge base, plus exclusive access to advanced AI training masterclasses. And you'll also get unlimited access to all of the summit transcripts, videos, and audio recordings, and a ton more. Again, this amazing bundle of cutting edge AI information and resources is going to go away soon. So don't hesitate to grab your copy right now. And I'm going to have Nicole go ahead and drop the link to that in the chat box. So when you get a chance, jump over there and grab your copy. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our diverse group of experts that'll comprise our panel today. First up is Ellie Natalie. Ellie is an international best-selling author, speaker, and marketing strategist. She's worked with thousands of businesses to scale their profits to the tune of over $40 million in sales. Next is Lorraine Ball. Lorraine is one of the pioneers of small business podcasting. She founded More Than a Few Words in 2010, was recognized as one of the most influential women in Indiana, and after growing and selling her digital agency, established the Digital Toolbox Club as a resource for small business owners. Also, we have with us today Christine Bosdale. Christine has been named an icon of influence by the New Media Summit for podcasters and has won the Excellence in Programming Award from Pacifica Radio. She has also won the Music Journalism Awards. She was nominated for Music Journalist of the Year and Best Interview. And then also we have with us Sarah Mack. Sarah supports creatives to sell high-ticket coaching offers and digital courses and attract dream clients by sharing their authentic story online. Originally from the UK, Sarah now lives in Los Angeles. She's also an author and host of the Creative Magic Club podcast. And then also we have Darlene Hawley. Darlene is a speaker, podcast host, business coach, and communication expert who shows ambitious, heart-centered entrepreneurs and rising business leaders how to speak up, stand out, and make more impact. And so we're going to get to it here in just a second. By the way, if you have questions as we go ahead and drop those in the chat box. My assistant, Nicole, will be monitoring the chat box and make sure we get the questions put in. What we'll do is we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So we'll go ahead and save up your questions and attack them right at the end. So we can have a nice flow of conversation here during the panel. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. First question is, how has AI technology transformed the landscape of content creation in your experience? And what specific benefits have you observed in terms of productivity and efficiency? So Lorraine, why don't we start with you? What do you think?
So I think both good and bad. I think there is a ton more content out there, not all of it good, because of AI. However, among people that are using it well, my favorite is I use it with transcripts of my podcasts, of meetings, of conversations with clients. I just pop it in there and ask AI to summarize. And it saves me hours. It does a really good job of pulling out the relevant details that might get buried in there. That's one of my favorite time savings. And then I can use that as a blog post, as an email, and I think that's one of my favorite
So kind of
applications.
a high-tech organizational tool that you can then repurpose, into a lot of other areas.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Perfect. Okay. Darlene, let's go to you. How has technology transformed the landscape of content creation in your experience?
It's changed it a lot. I've been in business for 18 years, and I remember when AI started I don't know what's it been, like a year and a half maybe, the AI started coming out, like, everybody was talking about it, and I was like, "What is happening? Are robots taking over the world? Like, we're not gonna need to think anymore because we're gonna have all these amazing tools that we can just show up and create content."
Oh, we're gonna
And
get enslaved by the robot overlords,
right?
right?
I was worried for a minute just because it was new, and I'm not always the easiest to change. It takes me a little bit of time to, like, get on board with the new things as they're coming in, and the more and more I've had a chance to play with it, especially I would say over the past year, specifically, I've used it a lot with clients, with helping them creating content. Not necessarily I don't like to use AI as, like, the be all, know all. Like, I don't wanna just tell like, ChatGPT how to write me a blog post and then copy and paste it and throw it up on my newsletter and my blog. I'm really wanting this to show up authentically. So how do we use AI as a tool to really support us to be creative and to be able to create content that's authentic to us, but gives us the resources and the tools that we need to take away the blank stare of the white screen, right? Like there's so many times where I've sat down to write a newsletter to my community and I'm like, all right, I have all these great ideas, except for when I sit down and I'm like, what am I going to write about? What am I going to think about today? And so I've really enjoyed using it with my clients and even for myself with my business, getting ideas started, giving it some fresh content or putting in some like prompts and questions and getting it going and then taking that content and really making it my own by writing my own pieces from it. And I think one of my favorite things about it is taking content I've written and then putting it into AI and say, like, give me some little like social posts I can create from here. Give me some video ideas that I can like repurpose this long form evergreen post into shorter little pieces that I can throw out to social media as a way to nurture the community and the people that I'm already connected with. And then using my long form content on my website so that I can have, Google find me if somebody's looking for me that way, or creating a YouTube video where people can find me in more of those SEO evergreen friendly platforms.
Awesome. Thank you. And so Ellie, let's get a response from you. How has AI technology transformed the landscape of content creation? Um, and keeping in mind that a lot of our customers or attendees today are writers and authors.
Right. So for me, at the beginning, I had this like love-hate relationship with it because I wanted to, like, just like everybody else, I wanted to jump on this bandwagon. But everything that I got back was like generic. And I'm so big on making sure that you bring your unique point of views into everything that you're writing. So it was taking a lot of time out of my day. And I almost gave up on AI. But then eventually when I really got a hang of it, it's really streamlined my entire process in content creation, in marketing, and also in a way that I show up and teach inside my workshops, creating courses all around. I want to say it has given me so much of my time back, and it has made me so much more efficient in the way that I've been running my business.
I'm curious. You said you almost gave up, but what was the turning point that had you continue on and expand into it?
So at the beginning, I was on ChatGPT, and then I was like jumping on these different tools, and it was the same thing. No matter which tool I was using, I ended up getting generic information back. Then I started really looking into, like, you have to treat it like, the way I look at it is like I'm treating it not like a AI tool, but like someone who is like an assistant and someone that I'm bouncing ideas off of. And I treat it just like that. Like I'm asking question as if someone was sitting there. And I've noticed that the more I treat it that way and I ask questions that way, then I get better responses back. And
Is
of
there
course, along the way, I've also learned how to um, teach it to like pick up my voice and give it like what I stand for,
like
what my beliefs and values and personalities are. So now what I'm getting back is a lot more. in line with the way that I create content
Yep.
or I speak.
Yep. And we'll talk more about prompts here in a minute. And so, Christine, um, how has AI technology transformed the landscape in your view?
Well, especially as an expert authority, as a business coach with my clients, they know my mantra, which is repurpose, repurpose, repurpose. And I love repurposing content because we're all sitting literally on our buns. Underneath us, we're sitting on tons of content. But we create a video, we do a podcast, or we have a podcast, and we have this long format, great content, and then we put it out into the ethers and it's gone and we forget about it. And my whole thing is taking that content that I've already created that's really amazing, and I use AI to repurpose it into short TikTok reels, into courses, into books. That's what I did in the last two books, was take content that I've developed over the years, and I threw it in, I zhuzhed it up, I massaged it. I got back some weird stuff from AI. I was like, that's really corny. That is so corny. And you do, it's your prompts. It's how you massage the, how you coax AI. So I love it. It's streamlined. The video conversion alone, the taking long format video and making it into small 40-second, 30-second snippets is brilliant. And it saved me years off of my life. So
Right, right, right.
I'm sold on AI completely.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we found throughout this conference so far uh, i- is not to expect to put in one prompt and get everything back, right? It's a process. It's a whole iterative process, and you need to drill down, drill down, drill down, and keep expanding out.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and yeah, thank you, Christine and Sarah. Same question.
So yeah, I had a lot of resistance to the robot, authenticity being one of my top values. And I believe you can smell an AI sentence a mile off.
Yes.
But I think it's really helpful for like another reason I had a resistance to it is because, I already had my process and my system, and suddenly adding the robots in was becoming a whole lot more time consuming. But with any, creating any new system, obviously, like you've got to find your way in, and it's like bringing on an assistant. You have to set that communication and make clear what the roles are. And eventually it can save you time and, be very productive down the line. And I found a more of a, time saving relationship with AI now. I don't use it a whole lot, but I do use it with clients. And I think it's really easy for like developing new frameworks or, for example, if there are really repetitive pieces of content that you're making. For example, I love using it for my podcast descriptions. Or, anytime you have a framework, like I have a PDF which outlines a way of writing a piece of sales copy for social media that I give to all of my clients. And I have something similar for my podcast description. So anything where it's like, here's a framework, like take this transcript or take this idea and put it into this framework. And then from there, you can add your own details because it usually churns out pretty like non-specific, generic, blend
Right.
into the noise.
We've heard
Uh,
the term prompt chain. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
I'm not sure exactly what it means, but I'll give it like, I'll say like, use this template and, use this content or I love using it for keywords. Like if you're using SEO, sometimes that's one of those things that gives you a bit of a brain ache when you're trying to plug that in and, write with kind of two strategies. You're wanting to express yourself creatively and get your tone of voice across, but you also want this to be strategic. So I found it really, really helpful for that. And I think for organizing, for editing, or giving you like a base layer to work off that then you can take and kind of like add your own flavor into.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, and so, um, I wonder, can you guys share, and we'll start with Lorraine again. Can you guys share a particular example where AI played a significant role in streamlining your content creation process while maintaining authenticity?
Well, I think I probably answered that question first time around is the one place definitely is on the podcasting. Another place is when I'm working with clients on web copy. and helping them plan their web copy, I have gone to AI and said, what questions should I ask my client about this? Or what questions do customers have about this product or service? And so now I have this list of questions. Now I go to the client and I have an interview and I can record it and ask them all these questions that AI said I should ask.
Right.
I get their answers. So I have authentic, real, high quality content. And then I take the transcript of that conversation and then I can go back to AI, have it write it, and then I can clean it up. One of the things that I struggle with a little bit with AI, left to its own devices, I think AI typically has two voices: frat boy and stuffy professional. And so what you have to do is take the content and then go, okay, you're a little too frat boy. I've learned that I can't tell it to be casual, but I can tell it to be conversational. Because casual, I get, yo, dude, this product, no. And if I say informative and professional, I can say informative, but I can't say professional because then I get the very buttoned up. So it's finding those words, but really letting AI sort of search the internet for the most common questions that people have about a product category and
Yep.
then answering it in your own voice and then going back and letting it synthesize it, you get that really nice balance. I think that's
Yeah.
one of my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, take a wild guess where I've got most of my questions for today.
Did you get
From AI.
I would hope so.
And so, Darlene, can you share an example?
Yeah, I think one of the best ways that I've found to use it is I have a podcast called Attract and Stand Out that I've been hosting since early 2020. Right before the pandemic, I started the podcast, and luckily I did because I needed all the virtual conversations I could have at that point. And the first like 80 episodes, I was like making my own transcripts and like taking notes and putting them in my on my blog posts and sharing it on social media that way. And then I discovered Descript this year, and that has been like game changer when it comes to the podcasting world. I can take my whole entire podcast, upload it. It'll give me show notes, the transcript. I can cut video pieces if I want to from it as well. And that's really changed the game. I love going in and playing with the different types of AI tools. Like at first it was just Chat GPT, and like I'm growing out of that stage now and going into like the script and using it for video. And I think there's one of the things I hear a lot of people say is there's so many different AI tools out there. Like which one do I use? How do I like find the right one for me?
Yeah.
And I would say like start basic and then like slowly learn one or two of them, because in reality I don't need 100 of them. I can only use two, maybe three different AI tools at a time. Like find
Yep.
the ones that work for you and ask around. Like ask people, which ones are you using? How are you using it? And find the best, like get into a rhythm for yourself and not feel like I'm somebody who's like squirrel. I need to go like, there's something new. I have to go try and find it and go check everything out. And I realize like the slower I go with AI, the deeper my roots go, and I'm able to really make a bigger impact in my business
Interesting.
and not have to feel like I'm doing all the things all the time, but I'm like very specific in what I'm looking for and getting my work done quicker. I was tracking this last week. I think I save like 5 to 6 hours a week using some of the AI tools that I'm using now versus
Yeah.
where I was at in my business, like say 5 years ago, even. And that's
That
huge.
number will probably go up, won't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Now, are you using a paid version or a free version?
The script I'm free on Chat GPT still. I have not upgraded it. I haven't found that I needed to yet, even though I want to play. Think I want to upgrade at least for 1 month and see what the difference looks like. But I'm doing okay with that. But with the script, I did pay for the annual membership a couple months ago because you can only do like 1 or 2 videos a month, and I needed to do more than that. With with my podcast and the other stuff that I was doing
Yeah.
with it. It was very inexpensive considering how much time it's saving me. Like it's
Right.
the best employee I could ever have.
Right. All right. Awesome. Thank you. And Ellie, can you share an example?
So for me, one of the areas that really stood out for me was this past July, I launched a new course. Now, I've been launching courses for myself and clients. So tune of like thousands by this point. And a course typically under 4 hours out course, it takes about 8 weeks if you have like a streamlined process. I was able to launch my course in 5 weeks. And the two areas that was very eye opening is really nice for me was like when I initially do my ideation and I have the course framework and I know what the setup is going to be, and then I have my individual lessons. I do a brain dump of content and I come back and figure out how do I want to teach this particular lesson. That part I outsourced to ChatGPT. And it was like quick, okay, this is the content I have. Can you make sense out of it? Can you massage it for me? Can you like make a target, a focus? So it's just a matter of minutes. I was like bumping out lessons.
No,
And
wow.
then the other part that was really amazing, and it was always like a pain in my rear end. I love to have accompanying material or supplemental stuff with every lesson to make sure that, people who are taking that course, they can implement what I'm teaching them lesson by lesson and they're getting the result. And it's just to figure out like what goes with this lesson. Is it a worksheet? Is it a checklist? And ChatGPT quickly, like I dumped the scripts and gave me back like this is what it would look like in a worksheet. This is what it would look like in a checklist. Outlined the whole thing for me. So those two areas cut out so much time for me. It's just game
So
changer.
so you managed to save, at least 2 weeks,
3 weeks.
3
Three
weeks off of a
weeks.
course,
Yes. Yes.
creating a course.
Mind
That's
blowing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And Christine, uh, can you give an example?
Yeah, I'm going to incorporate a few of the things that were spoken about before. So, uh, taking content, repurposing, taking the content that I've already had in not only my podcast shows, but also webinars and workshops that I've done. I do a lot of free workshops and webinars on podcasting, on TikToks, to bring in people that don't know me. They'll take a free webinar or workshop, but they don't know me. So I need to get them in and get them loving me, right? So I bring them in that way. And I've created all this content. So I use many times I'll use Descript to get the transcript of all of that content. With that, then I can throw that into ChatGPT, make it more of a uh, condensed, readable version, and then I can, of course, publish book. And I've been doing self-publishing of books the last 6 months and doing bestseller campaigns. I'm happy to say, just did a #1 bestseller on Amazon through self-publishing, and it's a small book. Anybody can write a bestseller. You just gotta stick to your niche, and also tell everybody that you know when it comes out, the Kindle version, and everybody buy that cheapy Kindle version. And then when you get that #1 bestseller, you screenshot the heck out of it. But that's like the one thing with writing. But I use video.ai, video with a Y, VIDYO.ai. It's free for the first 75 minutes per month. You get 5 minutes per month. You take a long format video. So my shows on podcast, my podcast shows are like sometimes an hour. You take that and you throw it into video.ai, and it cuts up those snippets. So it's using AI, and it's not creating something that doesn't belong to me. My authenticity is all throughout the whole thing. It
Mhm.
just
It's
knows
all
the
still you,
highlight.
yeah.
It goes this 30 seconds, and I don't know how it does it. It just goes, that's a funny little bit, or that's cool or cute or whatever, and they'll spit out like 15 or 20 snippets, and you can review them and you can go, well, that was all right, or that was great, and it saves you so much time. So then you can post
Unbelievable.
it on Reels and TikToks
And
and all of that.
repurpose it everywhere.
Repurpose it everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, you were talking about writing the books. Now, how I was a little confused. How much of the writing do you actually do, and how much does AI do?
Well, it all comes from me. It all comes from my brain. But as you know, how you speak and how people read is different.
Right?
So I could be a speaker and speaking to a large group of people and talking about marketing or digital marketing, and there's great content in there and great snippets. But when you convert that to a book, you have to know that it needs to be readable. If
Right.
that makes sense, right?
Yep.
So a lot of times it's just massaging the content. It's taking my actual transcript, throwing it into ChatGPT, and saying, I am writing a chapter on XYZ. This is the content that I need to incorporate in this chapter. Take it, make it funnier, make it weirder, add a superpower to it.
Right.
Whatever that I want it to be. Sometimes I'll tell it to be a New York Times best-selling publisher or editor, a fancy editor on Wall Street, and I'll say, make this like a New York Times bestseller. And sometimes it's good. Sometimes, everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes up with the corniest things, and you're like, really? I'll send it back to them. I'll say, that was crap. Do it again.
Right. 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 Well, and one thing that's come up over the last couple of days in our panels is that, and it's something I never thought about before in the last couple of days, is that, um, I would always assume that you put something in Chat GPT and you expect whatever you get out to be the truth.
No, they lies to you.
And that's the key, is that in no way is it required to give you the truth. It can
No.
make stuff up all day long, which I thought was wild. Um, great. Thank you, Christine. And so, Sarah, can you cite a particular example?
I like to use AI for what I find the most challenging aspect of copywriting, which is usually like condensing it down to a punchy title, or like I said, putting SEO. And really the main place I use it is my podcast. I use Buzzsprout, and I love the AI there because it auto generates the transcripts. And that just kind of like took a few different steps out of my podcasting process. That really helps with SEO for your podcast episode. I don't personally love the auto-generated titles and descriptions, but I do. One thing I'll do is take the transcript and then take a template prompt for how I want my description to go, and I'll say, take this episode and put it into this description, and then that will give me something to work off, and then I can do my own SEO keyword research, because by the way, the keywords aren't up to date in AI. They're about 2 years outdated. So you do need to do your SEO keyword research separately, but then you can pick, the most appropriate ones and throw it into Chat GPT and be like, please add these keywords. And then it just, I feel like it saves a lot of time, and then you can just tidy it up and add your own, more of the specifics that maybe it had glossed over, and it just becomes a framework that then it's really easy to work with, instead of starting with a blank page and having to begin from scratch. And then things like hooks for social media posts, online content, email subject lines, podcast titles. Sometimes, dropping some ideas or dropping some existing copy in there and asking for some title suggestions. You can then, it's just like a great place to brainstorm. And then you've got some things to jump off of and be like, oh, I like this, I don't like this. And then that will usually spark some new ideas for me.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's how I've been using it so far. Mostly is to just get that initial idea, have it spit out that initial idea back to me, and then I just take it from there. So, okay, thank you. And so, Lorraine, let's go back to you. And what are some of the common misconceptions about AI's role in content creation, and how would you address them?
Well, I think a number of the people have talked about this idea that you can just set it and forget it, that you can ask the question, take whatever you get, and go ahead and just put that out there. And one of the tools that I've been using lately, it's called Zero Chat GPT. And if you take the content that you get, um, and even if you've massaged it a little bit and you think, "Oh, this doesn't sound like a robot anymore," you can paste it into Zero Chat GPT, and it'll score you on a scale of 0 to 100%, and it'll say, "This is 100% AI written, this is 100% human, this is about 70%." And if you're getting in that middle range, it'll even highlight the paragraphs that sound too robotic. So it's a really nice way to kind of
Interesting.
sometimes when I give it my transcripts, what I get back, I'm like, what if that sounds a little too stiff, I could just pop it in there and go, oh, if I just change this paragraph, it'll be more human. So I think that's one of the myths. I I think people are have gotten over this idea that they can trust it. I think there are too many. I think there
Right.
are too many stories about lawyers who submitted legal briefs to judges and all sorts of things that I hope that that myth is gone. And I think like any of the tools, this idea that AI is free. You know, back in the day, it was, oh, social media is free. Well, it wasn't because you had your time invested in it.
Hmm.
And I think the same is true now. When you learn what your prompts are, when you learn to use it well, it's a huge time saver, but it ain't free and it ain't fast in the beginning because you
Right.
got to kick a lot of tires. I think, Darlene, you said, you got to try a lot of different tools till you find the one that works for you. So
Right.
AI ain't fast and it ain't free in the beginning.
Okay, let's all write that down. AI ain't free and it ain't fast. All right, cool. Darlene, how about you? Uh, what are some of the common misconceptions?
Yeah, I think some of the misconceptions that I've seen is that you don't have to work at it. You can just create content and it's done and you're ready to go. And I think we've all kind of pointed out at some point today already, like you can't just take the content from AI and put it out there into the world. You really need to take the time to make sure it sounds like you. It's got your brand voice in it. It's got your stories. That's one of the like I teach I have a course on storytelling that I use with my business clients for like how to share your story and your origin story, how to share stories and content that you're creating. And I've played around with AI enough, like for fun sometimes, like, tell me a story, like write me a story that will go with this type of content. And it's like, once upon a time, Cinderella, like it goes into like this like storytelling aspect like Disney does, right? And I always giggle because I'm like, this is like it's so off base when it comes to storytelling. Like people people are 22 times more likely to pay attention and listen to you if you share and remember you if you share story in the content that you're sharing. Don't forget that you have to show up and really create content that fits you and your brand and your message and use it in your voice. And you can like use AI as like that leaping pad to get you out there and to get you going, but really take the time to like put your own personal stories into it. I have all my clients keep what I call like a story bank, where every single day, like write down 2 or 3 things that happen throughout your day. And you may not use them today in your content for what you're creating, or if you're writing a book or writing a blog post or whatnot. But I go back to my story bank all the time and I can I can identify what I want to talk about, what I need to share about, and I can go back to a story that's original and true to me, that's going to connect personally to my ideal clients and people I'm connecting with, and it's from my heart. It's, last week when I was out walking my dog or when I took my car into the mechanic, they told me this, and like I can take those stories and really connect them to be a real relatable person. And I
Mhm.
think that's like the vulnerability piece, like share pieces of yourself. You don't have to share everything. Brene Brown says, share from the scar, not from the wound. Like you don't have to share when you're in the moment of something and you're going through something really hard, but your people are going to connect to you because you're sharing stories and you're being real and authentic and true to who you are. And
Right.
so like that one piece of just like be yourself, share your story. Don't just use AI as it is, but really connect to the people that you're trying to connect with through your heart.
Right. Right. Great. Great. Great advice. And what I hear you saying too is that um, y- y- AI can save you a ton of time, but you need to take time and effort and put into it. It's the old, life hasn't changed. You can get it out of it what you put into it. Correct.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's you can put the wrong effort into it and get a lot of crap copy that's not
Mm.
gonna resonate, and you're like, what's the at that point, especially if you're, writing a book or you're creating content for your business, if you're not really connecting to your ideal clients, why on earth are you doing it anyways? Like, if it's
Yeah.
just right, like, it's quality, not quantity. Like, we wanna have quality content that's gonna connect to the people we're trying to connect with.
Yeah. You got to be
Don't just
careful to
create it to create it.
have it not, take you off into the weeds.
Yeah.
Right. You got to really be pay attention. Um, Darlene, thank you. And Ellie, let's get a comment from you on misconceptions.
think the biggest one is a lot of people think like what they get back from AI tools, whether it's for their book or marketing stuff or their course or what have you, as long as it's conversational or it doesn't sound robotic, then they've done a great job. But the reality is that piece of content that you're creating, it's not going to do its job, like Darlene said, if you're not connecting with your audience at, a deeper level, if you're not bringing your values, your beliefs, the way that you see the situation or you solve the problem. And I have this challenge inside my workshops when I work with clients. I give them like a piece of content to create, whether it's their sales page or emails, and they come back. Like we had this exercise we went through with lead magnets, and like beautiful lead magnet. I mean, beautifully put together. The content, there's nothing wrong with it, but I like scanned it. I'm like, this was completely AI, and everybody laughs like, oh my gosh, you have your AI detective hat on. But it's really, I can tell because I know that person and I can tell this is not her voice or his voice. And this is not the way that, that their personality is not reflected. And that's how people, your audience connects with you, right? So it's
Yes.
not just, making sure that it's not robotic or it's conversational, but you have to make sure you bring yourself, your personality, your values, your beliefs, your perspective into whatever that it is that you're creating.
Right, right. Listen, we'll get to the questions at the end, but I do have one here. It says, does Ellie Natalie use AI to write her books?
I've only written one book, which was like many, many years ago before AI. But I create a lot of lead magnets. And so there are many ebooks and I do use AI to create them. But it's again, I take the same approach that I do with creating courses, what I did with my last year course when I launched it, which is like using it. I'm the driver in the driver's seat.
Hmm.
I outline, I have the framework, I do the brain dump, but then I just to make sense out of, okay, am I on the right path here? Can you make it targeted, make it more focused, polish it, those type of things. Yes, I do go to AI and it's definitely a time saver for me.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. And Christine, um, common misconceptions.
Yeah, this one I experienced myself. So, along in the world of AI, um, as writers, we all want to have a paperback and a Kindle version and an audiobook. And as someone who spent 20 years in radio as an audio file, uh, I was very excited about the fact that you could use AI to create audiobooks, right? And so I actually did this through Amazon KDP has a beta program that you can, it's free, and you just throw in your manuscript and they have a digital AI narrator. So I went ahead, I said, I'll play this silly little game. And so I did it. And it was shocking like how fast this thing is. You only have a choice between a few different, like a British person and then like an American lady talk, all these different voices. And so I did that with one project. And it's not the same as the human voice.
It's just
It's
not, is it? Yeah.
it's not. It it'll read a sentence that you maybe are really passionate about, and you're like, I broke my leg in 3 places, but, I was on the mountainside and I was scared. I was really scared for my life. And they'll read it like, I broke my leg in 3 places and I was scared. I was really scared.
Right.
There's so
Yeah.
nothing replaces uh, the human voice, your tones, your emotions. That we will not be replaced
Right.
completely by
Right.
AI technology. So if you are an author and you want to do an audiobook, you're going to have to probably, if you really want to have your voice with it, you need to do the old fashioned thing and record it and high recording, it's, it's a pain in the butt to do, but I
Right.
highly recommend it. And case in point, I have a client, uh, she's a Reiki master healer, master hypnotherapist. She had a book deal. She did the book, paperback book, and they said, "We're going to do." This was back when they had the CDs, right? The audio version of the book.
Right.
They hired like 23-year-old. She's 75 from Brooklyn, right? From Brooklyn. They hired like a 23-year-old British girl, young lady, to do the voice. And so she's talking about when I was, well, no, when I was a little girl in growing up in Brooklyn, my grandmother used to take me to Coney Island. It doesn't, it, no.
Just doesn't
So,
fit. Right.
no. So do your voice for your audiobooks. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Either you or you can hire somebody, but yeah, have it be a human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So Sarah, common misconceptions.
Yeah, this is such a great conversation, and piggybacking off, what everyone else has said, like, don't drop into the misconception that quantity and speed holds more value than like true depth and real connection. Because, yes, it's a creative tool, it allows us to be more creative, to maybe reach more people, and quantity definitely does have value in the social media landscape. Like, if you can put more content out there, it can improve your reach, but crappy content is going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt your brand. And ultimately, your brand and your business is built on real relationships with real people. And if they're not connecting with you because they can't see the real you, or, like the true message and heart in what it is that you're doing, then you're going to lose people. And so actually, knowing that with just AI is becoming such a prevalent tool out there, when everyone's jumping online, everyone has an online business. Like, the coaching industry is the fastest growing industry after tech. So if you really want to stand out, your uniqueness is like the most powerful tool that you have, which is my favorite technology is astrology, and using, any type of reflection tools to go within and to really know yourself and to know how to bring that across in your content, to create those connections with the people who really resonate with you for who you are. That's actually going to lead to more sales, more money, more connections, more impact, faster growth in your community. And so, yeah, just like keeping the priorities in check is really, really important.
Carrie.
Sorry, I went on mute there for a minute. Sorry. And so, yeah, hey, everybody, think up a question and put it in the chat box. We're going to have here in a couple of minutes, we're going to switch over to a Q&A session. And you've got 5 top experts here, so use them and abuse them, and drop any questions that you have into the chat box. So let's move on. I want to talk about prompts. That I think that's one of the most common questions that we get asked is, how can I use prompts? What are prompts? What are the best prompts? What are prompt chains, and how does all that work? So, Lorraine, can you take that one?
So I think that, especially when you're writing for yourself, before you start thinking about prompt, I would really encourage you to think about what are the words that you want people to use to describe you, and get that list of words. Are you warm? Are you welcoming? Are you reliable? Are you conversational? Whatever it is, but come up with a really long list, and then give the chatbot the assignment to rewrite a paragraph and pick some of those words and look at what you get back, and then try it again. And after a while, you'll figure out the adjectives, not that are the best adjectives for everybody, but they are the best adjectives for you. One of the ones I learned for me is I am conversational, but not casual. And that helped mitigate some of the stuff coming back that just really didn't sound like me.
Right.
The other thing is that if you are using the free version, then you should have a worksheet somewhere where you've got kind of your standard, please, to the standard template. When you get into the paid versions, you've got more that it will store and remember. But I think the big thing is, before you can ask ChatGPT to write in your voice, you need to find out what your voice is.
What is your voice? Right.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
right. All right, great. Thank you. Darlene, how about you?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Lorraine was saying, especially about like teaching AI how to use like what your voice sounds like, what you sound like. Share with it your vision, your mission, your culture, your values. Input all those prompt questions so that it really understands who you are. And I think one of the best ways that I found for doing that is taking old content that I created before AI even existed and entering that into like Chat GPT and saying like this is my voice. This is how I write blogs. This is my humor. This is how this is like I'm punchy and I want to bring these pieces of myself and my playfulness out in my writing. So this is how I've done it in the past and like kind of train it with those pieces. And I think that's one of the things that we forget that we can do is we can take our old content and put it in there as a training tool for AI to actually use. And so find some of your best content and teach it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't have to emulate it the same every single time, obviously. We wanna have all of our content sound a little bit different, like, different stories and different pieces, but it's gonna pull some of those tones, and it'll help keep it a little bit more closer to who you actually are and what you're trying to write about versus it having to be, like, way off base, and you have to do so much work to tweak it to make it even sound like you that
Yeah.
you're like, "Might as well have wrote this in the first place," because tweaking I don't know about you, but I've tried taking something and, like, tweaking it into something of mine, and I'm like, "This took, like, 5 hours," where if I just woulda sat my butt down with that blank screen, I probably woulda got there a lot further quicker, but
Right.
taking, like, all the information that you already have learned about yourself and your ideal clients and who you are and what you're doing as an entrepreneur or a writer or an author, like, take that information, teach it so it can help support you.
Taking the time to teach, the AI, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it pays off tenfold.
Beautiful. Okay, cool. Ellie, how about you? Prompts.
So, what I have found out is the more instructions that I give to ChatGPT, for instance, the better outcome that I get, output that I get. So, a lot of times you can just first tell it what you want to happen, and then ask ChatGPT to ask you relevant questions. Like, ask me, for example, I want to write an email, and this is what the email is about. So, let's say I want to run a webinar. This is a topic. This, and then ask me what you need to know so you can write, let's say, the landing page copy. And it'll ask you, like, who is this for? What is the topic of? All the nitty gritty. And you can even drill down whatever you get back. So instead of you giving it input and missing stuff, have it ask you. So that's one way that I found that to be very, very useful. Another way is if you especially have the upgraded version of ChatGPT 4, I have my own template. So what I do, similar to what Lorraine and Darlene were saying, I create my own template. So I've taken, like, let's say, my social media post. Like, I'm really big on making sure that you're posting for top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel because there are different approaches. So I've taken, let's say, the different posts that are for top of the funnel, and I put it into a template, and I call it top of the funnel template. And so when I want a new post, I say, go here, but write about this topic, but use that template. And it has like several templates to choose from. So it just kind of
So
streamlines
you
that whole
taking that
process
time to build those out, and in the long run, that saves you way, way more time in the end.
a lot more time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Christine, how about you? Prompts.
And you know what? And I don't use ChatGPT as much. I do use it when I am taking my my video content and repurposing it into writing. So I will do that. But it's kind of like being a director. It's like being a, I don't know, Scorsese. And you're telling your actor, okay, you are this character and you are, I don't know, locked in a cell 50 years. You're basically like a director and you're directing ChatGPT to behave in a certain way, just like you would tell an actor. This is your motivation, right? This is your childhood, whatever. So it's really important to be like that director. So I'll do as much as I can on that. I like what I enjoy about some of the other AI, like Descript. I think Descript is great is that um I can actually, and I don't even have to do a prompt. I can have it remove all my filler words because, and anybody that has this podcast or any, uh, if you're doing any sort of speaking event,
Yep.
you got
A lot
lots
of
of
ums and e's and ohs and yeah.
and because that's our thinker. That's our like placer, right? That's
Right.
as right before I come up and say something else, I'm gonna say, So when it takes all those things out, you're like, damn, I'm a really good writer or speaker because they're all gone. But that's a great tool to have. Is if you've got an hour-long presentation and they take out all your uhs and ums, that's brilliant.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, Sarah, prompts.
I think something that's really important to remember is, you know, sometimes we get lost in the intention of like, oh, I just need to create this content. So always connect back to the intention of this content needs to land with this very specific person. And, the most important thing your content can do is reflect the language of the person that you want this piece of content to land with. And so that's why I love using SEO. And I think it's really valuable to do some type of keyword research to, before you're going in with topic and prompt ideas, even, to throw in to something that you've written, because even just doing a quick search in Google is going to show you the actual words and phrasing that your customers or your audience are using around the topics that you're talking about, which is sometimes actually very different from what
Right.
AI, ChatGPT is going to produce for you. And ultimately, the more you can get inside their head and their brain and see this topic through their eyes and the way that they describe it, the more you can input that kind of language into your content, the more it's really going to get their attention on the scroll, and they're going to stop and read it and feel seen and heard and then want to take the next step and connect with you. So I use keywords everywhere, but even doing something simple like I said, a Google search or even on a YouTube search and seeing what types of titles, like blog posts, videos that are coming up on those top search items, they're going to give you a lot of keywords and phrases that then you could, add your own storytelling around or your own spin or your own twist, knowing that, that's going to resonate with people. And obviously this is a whole other conversation around SEO and, search numbers and things that you should, that are helpful to target. But I have noticed consistently when I do use SEO for things like my podcast or for blog posts on my website, when I then use that same language on social media, those posts do actually do really well. And they do get people's attention when I leave that language in, at least in the titles and the top
Right.
few sentences that are going to catch people's attention.
Yep. Great advice. Great advice. Hey, let's do a quick lightning round. I want to get everybody's favorite AI tool. Lorraine.
Opus Clips. It takes the long videos, makes them short.
And Darlene.
I'm sticking with the script. I think that one's my favorite that I've found, and it's really coming in useful with podcast editing as well as just taking old videos and turning them into blog posts.
Awesome. Ellie, how about you?
ChatGPT for sure. I'm in there every day for hours.
Right. Christine, how about you?
Video.ai.
Gotcha. And Sarah?
I really like Buzzsprout for how easy it is with the transcripts, even though I don't love any of their other AI content that they produce. The fact that it makes it so easy to produce that transcript, really, that's a lot of value to me.
Right. Okay, cool. All right, let's get to a couple of questions. We don't have a ton of questions, but let's go through here and get them answered. I got the first one here. I totally get using it for brainstorming and copywriting and marketing. Still, I don't understand how they get it to write a book and still call it their own. Can one of you guys touch on that? Who wants to take that question?
Don't do that.
That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, just don't.
Don't do it.
No, I think if you start with your own content and let it massage it, it's still your own. Writing it, I don't know that anybody actually is going to want to read that.
Right. Okay.
So robotic. Like it doesn't sound like a human actually would write. So I think if you left it in full AI content, like no one's going to buy it off the shelf. It's not going
Right.
to give you a bestseller book. Like if you just want to write a book to write a book, like take the time, take the time to realize like, why am I writing this book? Who's it for? And really take Lorraine was saying, like put your own content into it. And then
Yes.
like use that as a starting place and like identify like what chapters you maybe might be able to pull out based off of all the blog posts you've written in the past or the past articles that you've written for places and use that from there.
Yeah, I think that's the key is, please don't just put a few prompts into Chat GPT and then let it spit out a bunch of word salad and call that a book. That's just not what we're talking about here. So, um, another question is, can you use AI as a critique partner or editor? Lorraine?
Yeah, you absolutely, you can I actually do this with I teach, marketing, and I do this with a lot of my college students where I will take their papers and ask ChatGPT to up rewrite it and then let them do the side by side comparison. You can ask it to check for grammar, spelling. You can ask it to improve the readability, and it
Mhm.
won't really change the content, but it'll tighten it up.
Right, right. Um, Another question is, can you load all your past content into every AI platform?
And I guess you can. I'm not sure what
The
the
question would be is what's that gonna do for you,
what's the
right? I
purpose
mean,
for it? Yeah. I mean, you can use your old content to teach it, but I think at some point, like a few blog posts I found is plenty to get it started. You don't have to put all the content in all the places. And I don't even know, like at some point, and this is kind of a random thought, but like at some point, like is AI going to take our content that we've been putting in AI, showing it as our own? Is it somehow going to start showing up in other people's searches down the road because it's
Yes.
reading
Well,
it as
yeah.
content, which that scares me. Like, that's my biggest fear for putting my own content into AI is I don't want to, like, find my article somewhere and, like, "This sounds just like the one I wrote," and I'm
we
like, "Wait
didn't
a minute."
really get to the plagiarism aspect. Why don't we do again a quick lightning round on plagiarism? What are your thoughts on plagiarism, Lorraine?
Uh, I think plagiarism, when you knowingly take content from someone else, uh, yeah, I really want to comment on the comment about is it going to take our content? It already is. Anything that you have, anything that you have written that is more than 2 years old is already in the ChatGPT algorithm. Every time you publish a new
Good
blog
point.
post, Google is already
Already
indexing it
there.
and putting it in there. So it's already there. Um, I think that one of the challenges is you create it's not a virtuous but a vicious cycle where if you take and a lot of people do this, you take chat gpt content and you put it on the internet, that then becomes the new standard, and it is a lower quality of writing which it's then using as sourcing in the next iteration of chat gpt. And so the way you get out of that downward spiral is to take the chat GPT and overlay your own content so it's better content, not worse. You're not degrading the quality.
Right. As you're doing whatever that project you're working on is at that point in time.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. Darlene, you have any comments on plagiarism?
Yeah, don't do it. It takes me back to, like, high school when we're writing, essays and stuff for to submit, and, like, you're doing the encyclopedia research, and it's so easy to just take that content and, write the sentence as if it's your own, but, like, make it your own. Don't, like, take the information that you read and all the information you learned, all the place like, there's no new ideas anymore, right? We all have everything's kind of pulled together, but I have my spin on it. I have my take. Christine's gonna have a different one. Sarah's gonna like, we all have these different pieces. Make it your own, and if you're worried that you might have plagiarized a little bit, like, go into grammarly.com and pay for Grammarly and use the plagiarism button because I put things in there when I'm like especially if I'm doing, like, research on something where it's, I'm using somebody's ideas and trying to, like, write a blog post, taking it my way. I don't wanna take their words from them specifically. I wanna make sure that it's my content, my ideas, and so I'll use that as a place to, like, really double check and make sure that I didn't just take that sentence. I'm like, "That was a great sentence. I'm making it my own." Like, "No, it's not Darlene
Right.
Holly's." Like, I need to make sure I give credit where credit is due.
Awesome tip. Thank you. And so you guys, we have run out of time.
Yeah.
We have to do this again because I only got through about half of I mean, not even half of my questions. So we're going to definitely have to do this again. Um, so listen, thank you very much for being here to all of our panelists. And I want to do a quick lightning round on how people can get a hold of you. Lorraine, where can people find you?
Look for my podcast, More Than a Few Words, and morethanafewwords.com.
Awesome. And Darlene, how about you?
Yeah, you can head over to darleneholly.com, and I have my website with tons of resources, blog posts, free gifts, different things like that. But if you want to like connect, and I'd love to hear your takeaway from today, find me on LinkedIn. Let me know what you're up to and how I can support you and what your favorite AI tool is because we probably haven't heard of it yet. So come share with me.
Perfect. Thanks. Ellie, how about you?
Yes, so my website, ellynatoli.com, and my social handle on LinkedIn, where I'm really active, is Ellie Natoli as well.
Got it. Christine, how about you?
There's 3 ways: christineblasdale.com, expertauthoritycoach.com, and howdoicreateapodcast.com.
Beautiful. And Sarah?
I'm at withsarahmac.com. My podcast is Creative Magic Club, and my Instagram is Creative Magic Club as well. And I have a lot of free resources over on my website. And yeah, please reach out and continue the conversation.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you again very, very much. It's been awesome. This has been a great panel. I'd like to thank our amazing sponsor, Troy Harris and Fictionary again, and remind you that the AI Writing Summit is live all week long.